Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Coping with COVID-19 Creative Solutions for Your Business webinar series, which we are now doing once a week out of the University of Northern Iowa. My name is Patrick Linsman. I work at the Center for Business Growth and Innovation in Advanced Iowa. We've been helping put together a lot of this series as we continue to work through 2020 and the coronavirus and everything that's kind of gone along with that. So thank you for being here with us this morning. Our guest today is Jessica Dunker. She's the president and CEO of the Iowa Restaurant Association. And we're excited, as hopefully you've all heard, through some of Governor Reynolds' proclamations, some of the guidelines for reopening a lot of our restaurants, retails, bars, and everything in between. And she's here today to share with us some of the how-tos and what-to-dos from those different proclamations. If you do have questions, please go ahead and enter them into the Q&A box. We are live here on what is today, May 21st, taking those questions. So we'll try to answer those if we can. If they're general enough, we'll try and answer those for the audience. This is also live on Facebook. So if you're joining us via a Facebook live feed, go ahead and put something in the comments and those will get back to us. We'll be able to ask Jessica that as well. And then we have a question too. So this webinar is being recorded. It'll be available on advancediowa.com on our COVID webinar page. I'll make sure I post that link in there for you right afterwards. It'll also be on the Center for Business Growth and Innovation's website and Iowa SourceLink. So if we have friends joining us from Iowa SourceLink from the blast we sent out this morning, thank you for being here. And with that, that's enough from me. Jessica, thank you again for being here. Go ahead and take it away.
Great. Well, thanks so much for having me. You know, we have been measuring COVID days kind of like dog years. I can't imagine, I can barely remember March 17th when restaurants and bars across the state were shut down along with a number of other retail and entertainment establishments. So slowly we're reopening, and today I'm just going to go through the guidance that we know, and certainly we'll try to answer any questions that you might have along the way. So the governor's May 20th proclamation yesterday expanded the continued limited reopenings. And these reopenings now apply not to just a certain set of states, but to all not just a certain set of counties, but all 99 counties. And this included, for the first time, plans to reopen bars. So bars will be able to reopen on May 28th. Now, those of you who are familiar with the previous proclamations might be slightly confused as to why bars were called out, because everything was, the current proclamation was set to expire on the 27th. Part of the reason for calling out and saying, yes, bars will be open on the 28th was to allow bars to be able to start ordering product. You can't just open a restaurant or bar tomorrow if you're told that you're able to. So the proclamation that the governor gave on May 13th, and I'm just going to back up one proclamation, did allow restaurants to start to open on premise. And the reason I want to point this out is that bars, as they reopen, will be opening under the same set of guidelines. And those include limited capacity, groups sizes limited, social distancing measures need to be done, self-service is prohibited, and then social distancing measures that can be taken should be taken. The definition for the May 13th proclamation about restaurants and bars being able to reopen has been a little bit confusing to people. Most of us think of a bar as someplace that has more than 50% of their alcohol, or 50% of their sales is alcohol. Some cities even define alcohol versus food sales as the definition for a bar. But the proclamation that was put out on May 13th actually uses the definition of a bar that comes from the Smoke-Free Air Act. And so a bar is an establishment where a customer purchases alcohol, but serving food is incidental to the consumption of those beverages. So the definition for proclamation language right now today of a restaurant has nothing to do with the percentage of sales. And that's why there's been a lot of confusion. It's really about the way food is prepared. So it's about food preparation and the kinds of equipment you might have. Incidental food is food like popcorn or chips or prepackaged pizza. That's a ready to serve product. So when you're seeing some of these news stories about places that you're thinking, why are they open right now already? They're a bar. It really is because they meet the definition of a restaurant based on Smoke-Free Air Act. So the governor's May 20th announcement, her proclamation language didn't have anything specific to bars, but her press announcement actually did. And the actual language she had is that on Thursday, May 28th, bars and other alcohol-related establishments that have been limited to carry out and delivery will be able to reopen for indoor and outdoor seating along the same lines as restaurants. And so while it wasn't in the proclamation, it was announced that bars will be able to reopen on the 28th. Now, the governor's proclamation language yesterday did include some other hospitality and retail areas that are important to our industry. The first one was movie theaters. And if you look at what the movie theaters opening what they can do, it's along the same lines as restaurants, that they have to be at 50% of normal capacity, that they have to do that 6 feet of social distancing, that self-service is prohibited, and that is food and beverages. So just like in restaurants today, in your theater, you can't go and fill your own soda. That has to be done by an employee on your behalf. We are talking to the governor's office to see if we can't get that changed right now, because you can do it in a convenience store. But for now, you can't do that in a theater or in a restaurant. In a McDonald's or a Subway, you can go in, but you can't fill your own drink. And then other social distancing and hygiene measures should be taken. Now, important to note that they can go ahead and get open this weekend, but all other theaters and performance venues where there are live performances are continued closed. So there can't be a concert, but you can go to a movie. Wedding receptions. This is the place that we got the most calls in our office yesterday. So the governor's proclamation language actually allows, as of this weekend, as in Friday, for people that are having wedding receptions to go ahead and have those receptions, even if there are more than 10 people, as long as all the social distancing measures are taken in place. So if you have a table and there should only be 6 people at the table, there should be the 6-foot distance between those tables. Now, we've had immediately questions saying, well, I have a venue that holds a wedding reception, but can I have a graduation party, or can I have a business meeting on it? The language is actually very specific in the proclamation that it's a wedding reception. And so wedding receptions this weekend with all the social distancing measures are allowed. Other types of events of 10 or more people are not yet allowed. So the Iowa Restaurant Association, our organization, is an advocacy group. We have members that are restaurants and bars and other hospitality venues across the state. And we have consistently pressed for equity in the state's reopening strategy. And we've worked really hard to try to get bars to be treated like restaurants and restaurants to be given the same privileges as convenience stores. And just in defense of everyone in the government agencies who are working to try to get things open, everything is moving. There are so many moving parts. Everything is moving so fast and furiously that the idea that there is inconsistency is not inconceivable. But we are looking for those areas of inconsistency, as are the agencies, to try to get things changed and working in more parity. So on that end, as I mentioned previously, what we're currently working on is getting reconsideration on that self-serve beverages in restaurants and then also in movie theaters, because you can walk into any convenience store right now and purchase and fill your own drink. So we would simply like that privilege. The worry here is that people would, when you stay on premise, you'll go back up and refill a glass. And it's that contact of a beverage that someone has potentially drank out of, touching, the dispenser of the soda, and that's part of the reason that it was treated differently. But we're hoping some mitigation steps can be taken by restaurants and maybe theaters and other groups to be able to allow that self-serve of beverages again. So there are mandates and there are recommendations related to reopening, and this is true for any business, whether you're a retailer, a restaurant, a bar, a movie theater, anybody who's being allowed to reopen. It's really important that you understand what you're mandated to do and then where the strong recommendations lie. And of course, we encourage people to look at the strong recommendations and use as many of them as you can, because how you reopen now influences how everyone else gets to reopen moving ahead and how quickly we will be in a position to get back to 100% occupancy. So let's just start with restaurants and bars and our mandates. You absolutely, if you are reopening, must do these things. Limit your indoor and outdoor seating capacity to 50% of normal operating capacity. Second is limit your group size to no more than 6 people. Third is to arrange to provide a minimum of 6 feet between tables. And several people have said to me, how do I get ready to open my bar? And I've said, get out the tape measure, because you really do need to put that 6 feet in there. 4, disallow customer service of food or beverages, including buffets and salad bars. And that includes, as previously stated, self-serve drinks. And then implement reasonable measures to ensure social distancing of employees and customers, increased hygiene practices, and other public health measures to reduce the risk of transmission of COVID-19. Now, the nice thing about number 5 as a mandate is it's not very specific. And so that means you can look at all of the guidance that's out there and decide which of the steps you can take to fit number 5 to implement reasonable measures inside of your business. So there's some additional guidance that we'll share here. These are recommendations from the Department of Inspections and Appeals. And I'm just gonna hum through these pretty quickly, but to the extent possible, eliminate seating at bars within restaurants and also bar stools within bars. You have to be able to maintain that 6-foot distance. So you can conceivably put bar stools 6 feet apart, but the worry always is how close are you to the bartender if somebody is sitting at the bar and drinking, and are you maintaining the 6-foot distance there? Eliminate entertainment operations and activities. For now, the way the code is written, or the way the proclamations are written, you cannot have people playing pool. You cannot have people throwing darts. You cannot do bag games, arcade games. All of those things right now are still considered amusements. And while those aren't under the restaurant portion of the existing proclamation, they are in another area of the proclamation as it stands today. Serve alcohol only to a guest if they're ordering food items. That was true in restaurants. That will not be true once bars open. Disinfect tables and chairs after each customer use. Clean and sanitize table condiments, reusable menus, digital ordering devices. I was just in Mickey's in Waukee the other day. They've made it so that you go in and you pull out your phone and that's where they have their menu. They have absolutely no paper menus. That's a great idea to eliminate anything that is commonly touched by customers. Use pre-wrapped silverware and eliminate table presets. We've just discouraged anybody from having a table set and ready to go when people come in. When possible, use single use on salt and pepper, on the other condiments, anything that you can do to eliminate any kind of need to sanitize because different customer groups will be retouching is highly recommended. To the extent possible, you should, if you're a restaurant, take reservations or have people come in and give their name and then have them go back out and wait in the car. We don't want to see people congregating in waiting areas where you can't accommodate the social distancing measure. Post signs on the door that request that people that aren't feeling well or have a fever don't come in. And later in the presentation, you'll see some things the Restaurant Association has created along those lines to make that very simple. Every employer should be screening their employees. You can do fever checks, but you should do a quick assessment of whether or not people have a runny or stuffy nose, sore throat, muscle aches, fatigue, diarrhea, vomiting. Just exclude your employees. If they're sick, send them home, because we don't need to have anyone exposing anyone either direction. Where possible, stagger workstations to avoid employees standing directly opposite to one another. And then again, even with employees, as best you can, maintain that 6 feet of social distance. Now, this is not a requirement. I want to be really clear, but it is a best practice suggestion that employees with direct customer contact wear cloth or another mask that is laundered or replaced daily. So the language here that says require employees with direct customer contact to wear a cloth mask or a mask is something you as a business can require, but it is not required by the DIA. It is not required by proclamation. Frequently monitor employee hand washing and ensure no bare hand contact with ready to eat foods. Anyone who has a ServSafe certified food protection manager already knows to do this, but you cannot have any bare hand contact with foods. That's already in the food code. Notify customers by signage to report their concerns to a manager. Use technology as best you can. Everybody's got a smartphone. A lot can be done using that. And again, enhance employee safety training as you're bringing people back into your restaurants and bars and other retail establishments. You really need to retrain and talk about hygiene practices. Have hand sanitizer and sanitizing products ready and available for employees and customers, and then designate with signage or tape or other means appropriate social distancing. And we've all seen this in the grocery stores, right? Or in our retail stores, like at Target. They've started putting floor stickers to help us know where to stand. Any restaurant or bar should look at ways that you can do that as well. Same with putting a path through your restaurant or bar on the floor. Use tape, just encouraging people which direction to walk, just to minimize as much as possible folks that didn't come in together having that closer than 6 foot contact. So one kind of nice thing that was hidden away a little deeper into the governor's May 13th proclamation was some licensure relief from the Department of Inspections and Appeals if you hold a food license. So if your food license has not yet been renewed, you will not be shut down if you are operating outside that 60-day time period. So that's nice to, if you've not been operating and along the way here in these 60 days, your license has expired and you haven't refiled for it or paid for it, there is some leeway there. In addition, the DIA has waived every late fee, and it has not just from the COVID-19 period, past and present. Those fees are gone, just to give a little bit of financial relief to some of the operators who are out there. So I have a couple of questions that we get kind of commonly, and I just thought I'd toss those in here to help folks along the way. So if a restaurant, and this would be true for a bar too, is a restaurant or bar required to physically remove tables or booths? No, you're not required to do that. You are, however, required to maintain that minimum of 6 feet between guests. And so either with signage or however you can do it, if you can remove them, great, and do the 6 feet. We've certainly seen people that have done that in their businesses, but you can also do it with a sign that just says this table is not going to be used in order for us to maintain the 6 foot social distancing requirement. Can I provide live music on indoor or outdoor premises? Current guidance to this says no, that live entertainment is not allowed. Now, the governor's proclamation is currently continuing the closure of performance venues offering live music. That might change. This is one that you really just need to keep your ear to the ground on what changes over the next week. We know that she's looking at everything that by proclamation expires on the end of the day on the 27th. This is one we don't think they will allow after the 27th. But for now, if you are reopening, you cannot have live music. So what if I have a group that's larger than 6 people? Can we, like a family, for example, of 8, if they all come in? will we be permitted to seat them together anyway? And the answer is just no. And we've been real clear with folks, if you're a mom and a dad with 5 kids and you want to come into a restaurant and sit down, you have to sit at 2 tables. So decide who's with mom and decide who's with dad. This is just the way the proclamation is written. These are the social distancing standards we're using. We have seen in other states groups that go up to 10, but in the state of Iowa, this is actually one of the mandates, and you must have table sizes of no more than 6. Are my employees or customers required to wear masks? Again, just to emphasize, you as an employer may require your employees to wear a mask if you choose to, but that is not a state mandate. You may ask your customers to wear masks if you choose to, but that is not a state mandate. Can we have customers sit in the bar? I talked about this briefly before. To the extent possible, bar seating is discouraged or should be eliminated. But if you choose to have it, then it is allowed, and social distancing standards must be considered. So again, this isn't necessarily even about the people sitting at a bar together and talking. This is as much about the proximity of the bartender behind the bar who's making drinks and making sure that there's 6-foot distance there. Can a restaurant or bar allow customers to use pool tables, dartboards, arcade games, amusement devices, and other games of skill or chance? At this time, no. This is something that continues to be prohibited under the governor's proclamation. We don't know if there will be an easing up of that by the time the bars are reopened on the 28th. But today, you may not have this, and this was not specifically called out as something you would be able to do starting on May 28th. So at this point in time, I would plan for this to continue to be a no. Does 50% operating capacity include staff? It does not, actually. This is the operating capacity in the proclamation is related to seating. And so you do not have to look at, as you look at your building numbers, it's what would you normally be seating and how do you get to 50% of that? So that is a little bit of relief on that number. And so again, look at the ways you can do that social distancing. That is an indoor and outdoor number. And even if you think you can do, one thing that people have asked is, well, hey, I think I could spread a few more tables out and maintain that social distancing out on my patio or extend my patio a little bit. Well, I'd caution that if you're serving alcohol in particular, you probably turned in a dram drawing to your insurance company, so not to do that. But in addition to that, the spirit of the proclamation is that whatever you normally would have on your patio, you should be doing 50% of that. Does the governor's announcement from May 20th include bowling alleys and pool halls? We have received these calls, and she did not. The current proclamation ends at 11:59 p.m. on May 27th. And so we don't know what they're going to do with bowling alleys and pool halls after that. However, her press announcement, which did say bars were definitely opening on May 28th, did not say bowling alleys and pool halls are definitely opening on May 28th. So that is a question we have tossed up to the governor's office and asked if they will indicate whether or not those restrictions will be lifted to allow bowling alleys and pool halls and bingo halls to begin their planning. For us, we were pushing hard on the bars because we knew they had to order product and get ready to go. And we were pleased that we got a timeline for bars. So we'll see if we hear something more about some of these other entertainment venues. If a restaurant has a lounge area that is normally used for waiting, can it be converted into a dining space? The answer to this one is yes, provided that those mandatory requirements of limiting indoor and outdoor seating capacity to 50% of normal. So if you're just set up tight, but you normally seat 100, and in order to be able to seat 50 and do the 6 feet, you need to move some tables into the lounge area. That is, according to the Department of Inspections and Appeals, still allowed. But remember, it still needs to be at 50% of your normal seating operating capacity. What types of disinfectants can be used for tables and chairs and other non-food contact services? The products you need are readily available commercially. We just wanted to point out that anything that kills norovirus will kill COVID-19. And anybody who's serving food, if you have a certified food protection manager, which again would classify you as a restaurant, but even those that just have the certified food protection manager, you know what a norovirus kit looks like. You likely have one in the products that you use. So important to just make sure that you have products that will kill COVID-19. There's a list of those as well on the EPA website, and there's a link in this presentation as well as from the DIA. So there is a question for restaurants and other food businesses that the DIA, they have an FAQ that is incredibly helpful and is always being updated. So I would highly encourage everyone to bookmark this site, which is available in this presentation, to go up so that you can find any answer that you might need. If you have questions, you can submit them directly to DIA or to us, and then we pass them along. And they're very thoughtful and relatively quick about being able to get answers back to us. So just pivoting a little bit about how do you market what you're doing to really provide confidence back to customers. It's frustrating to be in our industry because we did, as the food and beverage industry, as retailers, we really didn't do anything to lose customer trust. And yet we have to do everything to regain customer confidence. And it's a tough position to be in. And so one of the things that we've rolled out in the restaurant industry and are getting ready to roll out for the bar industry as well is the Iowa Hospitality Promise. And this is something that we put together in partnership with Department of Inspections and Appeals and other health officials. That is an endorsement that says to the public, it's a public information campaign and a public branding campaign that says, you know what, we're going to do all the mandates, but we're going to do a lot more too, because we want to feel safe and we want you to feel safe. So the promise, and then we've done this for restaurants already. We're actually creating a specific promise that's called the Iowa Bar Promise, so that they will be able to have a program that is specific to their operations. We'll be rolling that out and then over the weekend, actually. So who can participate in either one, the Iowa Hospitality or Bar Promise? Any restaurant or food service or drinking establishment that wants to take the mandated steps, as well as deploy any of the best practice guidelines that are feasible in their establishment. How long will this program last? For us, it will last probably for quite a long time, because people have to rebuild that confidence about COVID-19 and feel confident dining in our establishments. So this is what the restaurant promise looks like. And I know that this group is restaurants and bars, but it's also other retailers. We really feel like a version of this promise can easily be adapted to any business. And it's not an idea that we feel particularly attached to as only our own. So we'd really encourage people to make a promise, whether it's from your business, whether it's from your main street, whether it's from a city, whether it's from an industry, and look at what do you want to promise to your customers and post on your door. So this is what we have done in the hospitality industry. It outlines all of the things that are mandated, but it tells the public we will have a certified food protection manager who's put protocols in place to care about your well-being. We will put hand sanitizer at our entries and exits. And then all the different things that we will be doing related to cleaning. But a promise is a two-way street. And so in addition to posting what we promise to do, we're posting what we're asking customers to do. So what we ask in return is that if you've been exposed to COVID-19 or have symptoms of COVID-19, that you stay home and use one of our contactless delivery services. That if you have underlying health conditions or are concerned about contracting it, that again, you use our contactless delivery options. And that if you have questions about the promise, that you ask someone in our establishment what we're doing to keep people safe. Now, why are customers included in this promise? Because everybody's got to work together on this thing. And we care as much about our employees as we do our patrons. And so we're pledging to keep you all safe. We're going to ask you to keep us safe as well. This is what our Iowa Hospitality Promise looks like. We have a series of printable, a set of printable signs, and maybe some of you have seen some of the Iowa Hospitality Promise signage in restaurants that you have visited. This is a poster that we've created on the door. We allow people to fully customize it. We have lots of signage we've created with the brand on it to let people use. And again, it's just saying right as you're walking into our restaurants that and bars soon to be, that we're taking every step we can to keep you safe. Please keep us safe as well. So what can hospitality establishments do to help customers meet these obligations? You know, we're just needing to stay committed to our contactless delivery options. Nobody built a restaurant model based on a 50% capacity and thought they would profit and stay in business. We always assume that we are going to have much better than that 50% capacity. And so we need to go ahead and continue to look at how do we increase our delivery options, maintain those delivery options. Prior to COVID-19, only 37% of restaurant food that was prepared in a restaurant was eaten in a restaurant. So that meant 63% was already going carry out, drive-through delivery. So given that reality, we just need to stay committed as an industry to doing that, doing it well, and doing it safely. What other resources are available to folks? There's a couple of training classes that are normally, you normally have to pay for from the ServSafe organization at the National Restaurant Association. All of those programs are free to people online through the end of May. So really encouraging people to go up and do the ServSafe delivery precautions, the ServSafe takeout options, the ServSafe food handler options, and that's all available at servsafe.org. What are some best practices restaurants can but are not specifically required to follow in order to comply with the commitments in the hospitality promise? I'm just going to cruise through some of those. And again, I'm going to point these out not because they're mandates, not because they're requirements, not that you're even required to do these to be part of the hospitality promise, but just to help you get some ideas about things that you might be able to do and that you can point out to your customers and to your employees to keep more people safe. So you begin to sorry, I'm gonna just skip by this one and go ahead and go to the general suggestions. So of course, keep sick people home, don't have people work. Clearly mark tables that they're not, you can't occupy them if you are doing social distancing. Use CDC approved sanitizers and have a schedule for sanitation. Any surface that is touched by multiple people sanitizes every 30 minutes. Use technology. If people are coming in and your restaurant is currently at that 50% capacity, take their cell phone number, have them wait in their car and text them when their tables are ready. Use touchless payment options. If you don't already have Apple Pay or Google Pay, the ability to do that, now's the time to really look at how you might leverage those technologies. Don't put anything on a table ahead of time. Have people request things and explain that the reason that things are not on the table as they're requesting them is because we're trying to reduce touches by groups of people who haven't come in together as much as possible. Hygiene, again, really as you're bringing your staff back in, emphasize the need for maximum hygiene. If possible, you can have those making drinks or serving food or bringing food wear gloves. Again, gloves are not a mandate for people who are not preparing food. If you're a certified food protection manager, you know no bare hand food contact. Well, that doesn't mean that servers have to wear gloves, but if you choose to, go ahead and have them do that. Also, if you are going to have people wear gloves, train them on what to do. Wearing gloves is to protect customers and not just the people wearing the gloves. And so it's really important that if somebody is touching food and then running a cash register, that they know to take the gloves off and not go back to making food. The whole point is lost, as you all know, if we're not doing that. So, you know, if you have high school students working for you, train them about why they're putting those gloves on. Remind them that that's about the customers as much as about them. And then again, just training on disinfecting, really stressing to people the importance of not touching your face, your eyes, your mouth. And, you know, there's tons of signage. Use signage well. Post things around that can really help people remember what they should and shouldn't be doing. We do, again, with that food handler training, that's a 2-hour short course. That's not the certified food protection manager training. You could require everybody to go up if you're waiting to get people back to work. This is a great thing to be doing from home, is get that certified, the food handler certification for all employees, especially, it's normally $15 a person, but it's at no cost right now. Dishes and glassware, again, have those handled by a single person doing a gloved hand. Have things, you'll see, I think as we're reopening, you're going to see a lot more disposables and single-use products that people are using. We encourage that. If you have to refill drinks, don't take a pitcher table to table where there is the potential of your pitcher touching a glass that someone has drank out of. Instead, just bring a fresh glass. So there's a lot of steps, again, that you can take. Inform your guests of mitigation efforts, position a host at the door to explain why things look different. With restrooms, same thing, really, really do more sanitation, more cleaning. You might want to limit the number of people in and out of the restroom to ensure social distancing with signage. And then I keep talking about signage, signage, signage. Well, free on the Iowa Restaurant Association website, under the Iowa Restaurant Promises Printables, we have everything that I've talked about from a signage standpoint available for you to download for free. You can customize it if you choose to. It's all meant to be printed on anybody's color or black and white printer. We have them in both formats available for you. And again, we are happy to have people in the restaurant industry use them, in the bar industry use them, but retailers, if you're out there listening, you feel free to take and borrow and use any of these things. This is really about getting all of us open. So with that, I end my presentation. If there's anything that I can answer at this time, I'd be totally happy to do it.
Awesome, Jessica. Thank you so much for that great information. Again, we are talking to the president and CEO of the Iowa Restaurant Association, Jessica Dunker. First, I just want to say we appreciate you taking the time today, and also all of the hard work that you've put in, putting this together, but then advocating for restaurants and bars all across Iowa. It's tremendous, all the things you've put together, and so that's great. And I know that all of your members and all the ones who aren't are also taking advantage of it. Couple quick questions that we've got in here. One was around alcohol sales.
Sure.
So when bars open next week, is that going to end the carry-out sales of alcohol?
It is our understanding that the carry-out sales will continue. Right now, there's no proclamation. So there's nothing, this is just our assessment of it. But it is our understanding that we will likely receive an extension of all the carry-out alcohol because, as I mentioned before, when you're operating at 50% capacity, you simply can't make a profit. As the Iowa Restaurant Association, we are actually seeking that be extended through June of 2021. We're advocating that to legislators right now. And then during that time, as we're reviewing that, we're going to seek that as a permanent action. So we are legislatively trying to address that. So that's one of the questions you'll see an answer to. Our expectation is that it will be extended.
Absolutely. We had a couple questions around the ServeSafe. So it's servesafe.com.
Oh,
right?
Whoops. Did I say .org?
Maybe.
I think it's servesafe.org. Golly, I should know that off the top of my head.
I've got it up here. I think it's
okay.
servesafe.com.
Okay.
Serve with no E, right?
Yep, it's one word. Yes, SERVSAFE. And that is from the National Restaurant Association. And they do have that training for free until the end of the month. And we really recommend that food handler training be completed. And you can have anybody, it's online 2-hour short course. They get a card that certificate printed that says they've taken it. And really everything that you learn in there is the same thing that prevents COVID-19 spread. So we really encourage that.
Right, absolutely. So if you're looking for that, servesafe.com, go out, check it out. You can also find it from restaurant.org, which is the National Restaurant Association's
Thank
website.
you. Yeah.
Yep. Or you can just Google up Iowa Restaurant Association. You can find it from there as well. One question too, and so this was, again, so everybody who's joining us, this is recorded. You'll be able to go back and watch and see some of the slides. As we wrap up today, I was wondering if you could give a couple quick thoughts, or like the most important things as restaurants and bars are starting to reopen and open up their dining spaces, for them to, that you really want to drive home with people.
Well, the 50% capacity, I think it's important to understand that you don't have to include your employees in that. And so it really should be related to seating capacity. And I think it behooves everyone to really focus on how do you continue to build and grow your takeout and delivery strategies. You know, we just aren't sure from the pandemic perspective if we're going to see sudden closures again. You know, most of us got 2 hours notice this first go around. And so really having a business strategy that you are prepared to pivot is important. The other thing is this is the time to make changes. You know, folks know things are going to look different. If you've got, you know, dogs on the menu, get them out of there. Size those menus down. Look at ways to have a takeout and delivery menu that's different than your on-premise menu. And also, and get the supplies in-house that you need to be able to do takeout and delivery. We just, you know, the trends were already moving that way. Our hands have been forced now. And so really setting yourself up for the future, leveraging technology, having potentially two, like I said, 2 different menus, and getting that menu priced for profit. Now is the time to do that. And you're seeing the national chains do that. If you haven't been watching and looking around, you'll see national chains are starting to do that. So consumers won't be surprised.
Absolutely. So we went through a lot of things that are mandated, that are
Right.
currently required by proclamation. Just for wholeness of information, what are some of the things that restaurant owners could be facing if they fail to stick to those mandates?
Well, there's a couple of things. So on the mandates, it's a police action if you aren't following the mandates. And so the enforcement tool that's really being used is police action. Nobody wants police action in their places. So that's number one. Number two, if you have an alcohol license, they have been clear that they will take into account when you go for a renewal, the good moral character portion of your alcohol license. If you're not following the rules, that will be taken into account. And the Department of Inspections and Appeals, and actually ABD and Department of Inspections and Appeals right now are both looking for education opportunities. If you're just blatantly disregarding, and I'm guessing most people sitting on here won't be blatantly disregarding, but if your neighbor is, that will, there's the possibility of consequence, particularly related to liquor license.
So some of that licensure and then police action, and nobody wants the police to show up. So
no, and that's right. And you know, we are, you know, restaurants and bars are an integral part of their communities. People want to see us succeed. And, you know, the numbers have been devastating. We expect 1,000 places will not be able to reopen. And we saw just in April, $310 million of sales loss for our industry. So, you know, coming together, being good operators, being good actors, this is the time to do it. And then the public sentiment will stay with us, and we hope they'll come out and use takeout and delivery and come on premise and trust that we're doing the right thing.
Absolutely. And it's going to be, you mentioned it there in one of your legislative actions, but you're, as an association, is suggesting people start to continue to make these changes. Any places you know of or resources they can look at as they're trying to incorporate more technology or online delivery, takeout, as they're trying to update their methods? Any thoughts on where they can maybe go learn some things about that?
Absolutely. I would start with your POS system, and whoever you have a POS system with, because having that integrated with the various takeout services, if you choose to use them, or yourself, that is absolutely key. And so all of, all of the big ones are able to help you with that. And so I would start with your POS salesperson and say, okay, help me. I can't do this anymore. And we really saw them step up. A number of them proactively called restaurants immediately and helped people get online ordering systems up and running in 24 hours after the on-premise closures.
Wow, that's impressive, and I think we've seen it all across the state as people have taken to Facebook and social media and online ordering of menus to get it out there. So
Right.
that's awesome. We're pretty much out of time today, so thank you, Jessica, for speaking with us on this topic. And I'm sure in the next week, as things continue to come out and be more clear, you'll have even more answers for us.
No.
This whole series is recorded and it's available on advancediowa.com and iowasourcelink.com, and we'll be able to post this recording along with some of the links and all of that information there. For everyone that is looking to reopen, good luck. Hopefully it goes well. Stay safe as we continue to navigate this summer of the coronavirus. Be sure to check out the Iowa Restaurant Association's website. They have a tremendously awesome and have the entire time that coronavirus has been going on, COVID resource pages. So a lot of really great information there that you can keep up on and help you with. With that, we'll get out of here. Jessica, thank you again. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. You guys have a great day.
All right. Take care, everybody.